China to file WTO lawsuit against US over tariffs. China's Ministry of Commerce said it would file a complaint with the WTO to safeguard national rights and interests against the US tariffs. China's Ministry of Commerce announced on February 2 that it would file a complaint with the World Trade Organization, WTO, protesting the additional 10% tariff that US President Donald Trump has just issued on all Chinese goods. The agency stressed that it will take corresponding countermeasures to protect national rights and interests. Beijing criticized Washington for unilaterally imposing tariffs and seriously violating WTO regulations. This action does not help solve the US's internal challenges, but harms US-China economic and trade cooperation. According to a statement from China's Ministry of Commerce, China called on the US to recognize and address its internal challenges, including the fentanyl drug crisis, with an objective and rational spirit, instead of using coercive measures such as imposing tariffs on other countries. Beijing said Washington needs to correct mistakes and compromise, have frank dialogue and strengthen cooperation, and manage disagreements on the basis of equality, mutual respect and mutual benefit. China's statement was made hours after Mr. Trump signed an executive order that took effect from 0:01 on February 4, 12:01 on February 5. Hanoi time. Energy imports from Canada will be subject to a 10% tariff, while those from Mexico will be subject to a 25% tariff. Almost all other goods from Mexico and Canada will be subject to a 25% tariff, and all Chinese goods will be subject to an additional 10% tariff. The Trump administration has accused Chinese authorities of failing to take the necessary steps to stop the flow of precursor chemicals used to make fentanyl to criminal gangs and to prevent money laundering by transnational criminal organizations. China's foreign ministry said today that fentanyl is a US problem. The Chinese side has conducted extensive anti-drug cooperation with the US and achieved remarkable results. The statement said. It also stressed that no one wins in a trade war. The WTO has been largely constrained in its ability to resolve legal disputes between its members since the US blocked new appointments to its appellate body, SAB, in 2019. During President Trump's first term, all 7 members of the SAB, each serving a 4-year term, must be elected by consensus, and no new members can be elected to the body without the US's green light. The last member of the SAB expired on November 30, 2020. During the 4 years of President Joe Biden's presidency, the US maintained this policy despite calls for cooperation from WTO member countries. When Guatemala proposed to restart the SAB membership election process in January 2024, the US government issued a statement of opposition, saying that the old system is no longer effective for both the US and many member countries, calling on the WTO to reform and build a new mechanism to adjudicate trade disputes. The WTO can still establish a panel to review each case. However, the panel's report cannot be sent to the SAB for a legally binding decision, allowing the winning country to impose tariffs on the losing party. During the US-China trade war in President Trump's first term, Beijing also filed a lawsuit against Washington at the WTO but imposed retaliatory tariffs without waiting for the WTO's conclusion. China has a trade surplus with the US, meaning it sells more goods to the US than it buys from the US. So it eventually runs out of targets to impose retaliatory tariffs.